Nancy here. For those of you who have seen my recent story about a horse who was my first ever to work with, I want you to know since then, I probably have worked on about 500 horses. The first 100 was in 2 months. And after that, I think it slowed down. I did clinics with a friend who was a shiatsu therapist on horses. And we met one of Linda Tellington, I think, is an Aussie, Australian, who created the Tellington Touch for horses. And one of her people came to our clinic, and we were so thrilled. I want to tell you a story, a true one, of course, about a horse. I have lots of those. Most of them, though, or at least some of them, are in my Nature Speaks book, and I'll send you the link below afterwards. But anyhow, my story. I was called in to uh, somebody, I don't know who he was, but he owned the stable of uh, uh, racehorses and uh, driven horses for races. I don't even remember what you call it. And so these are so long ago, but I do remember what happened. See, my memory sticks with connections of life. Um, I didn't connect much to the owner because I didn't spend a lot of time with him. I connected to certain pieces of it. So while I was waiting for everyone to get together, there was a group, and my husband came with me at the time. And I was bored. I get bored fast, I think. I was standing around waiting. So I said, I'm going to walk through the stables if you don't mind me. He said, no, no, they're all there in that one building right behind us. Go. Oh. So I go, and I'm walking slowly around, looking at the horses and smiling at them and saying hi, and everything's fine. And then I thought, well, I better head back. So I quickened my pace and I walked past a horse who I hear in my head, how dare you pass me? Do you know who I am? So I turned around. I thought, go for it, right? Trust you. And I saw the name Adam Lobel. Now, this is back somewhere in the 80s. And I thought, okay, whoever you are. I didn't remember the names of any of the others because no one else yelled at me. They just smiled and were peaceful, and that was nice. And so I come back out and I said, by the way, is Adam Lobel the biggest winner here? And they just started laughing. They said the biggest winner pretty much everywhere at times. So the Lobel Farms happens to grow a lot of champions. I didn't know. They called me in for another horse. And the reason they called me is the horse was very sluggish. And having walked around all of them, I said, can you show me what you're feeding them? So they bring out these squares of hay, I guess, whatever it is. They feed them. That's my extent of knowledge. And my apologies to everyone who loves and understands and takes care of horses, really. And so, in order to do my work, I stay out of too much of my left hemisphere overthinking. And so they brought it over, and I'm looking at it and turning it, and I'm going, what makes it into square? And they said, oh, no. I said, you'd better call the library. The library. Yes, actually, it is a library of knowledge called the laboratory, and it's the one that produced it. So they've got the library of knowledge there. And so somebody gets on the phone, finally finds somebody who is willing to tell them it is sprayed with bentonite. If any of you have ever been somebody who was told to use some bentonite for something to clean out, you'd understand. Bentonite's good for cows, for double ruminant animals, not for a horse. It weakens them. It exhausts them. It cleans them out too much. And so that's the scope on that one. A quick other one, which is not in my book, is I was called in by a friend. How I even got started was silly. Was my dear friend Phyllis's husband, Kenny, uh, co-owned a horse with his buddy Lewis. And I was over at their home, and Kenny walks in, and I look at him, and he said, I was just with so-and-so horse that they had. And don't get me wrong, racing, not my style. I just take care of horses because I love them, and I don't want them hurt if I can be of any difference. Anyhow, I looked at him and I said, the horse has a lung problem. He said, no, he's fine. I said, no, he's not. So that's me sometimes. I will, because they were my best friends, other than one other couple, they were my absolute best friends. I could say anything anywhere and they wouldn't care. And they stand up for themselves too. So the phone rings and he gets on the phone. He comes back and goes, they're taking an x-ray of his lungs. There's something wrong with them. He said, would you come down and see? And that's how I got started with horses, period. Kenny was the first person to take me for horses. Before I was called in to go work on horses later. And so when I went, then Lewis, the partner, who is a dear, wonderful human being, said to me, well, this particular horse I want to show you because he's kind of sad. I said, well, a racehorse, what do you expect? He said, no, 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 this is different. I know that. He said, I try and do the best for him and give him a good light. Okay. So I go and I look at the horse and I see an image. And I said, would you mind? I know it sounds silly, but would you get him a goat? And he said, a goat? I said, yeah, a goat. So he got him a goat and it worked. The two were best friends. And so he was very satisfied with his life. And that's it for today. I just wanted to share those with you. They've been on my mind. And I just find that they're our teachers, all these precious beings who may not speak the same language we do. Maybe one day Google will be able to translate everything. You never know. But in the meantime, know that we have the translator built in. And if you'd like more ideas about that, please comment. Tell me your stories. I would love to hear them. And my book is there, and I also teach animal communication. So welcome to this world. I want you to have a lot of fun with it. Your companion animals, your wildlife in the outdoors, the trees that whisper to us, the plants that whisper to us, they're all alive. They're all part of our life. We're all connected. And I know so many of you agree. Yay. I'm so happy when I see comments about people who already experience all this too, or open their eyes to more and their hearts to more. It's wonderful. So have a great day, everybody. And thank you for taking the time. Bye.